Welcome to the Collabo podcast. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome to the Collabo podcast. Today's topic is refugees. A refugee is a person who has been forced to leave their country in order to escape many things, perhaps war, if the government treats them badly, or perhaps a natural disaster like an earthquake or a flood. So, for example, if there is a war in a country and many of those people have to leave the country to find new homes, those people would be called refugees. According to the United Nations, there are 80 million refugees across the world, and over half of those refugees, that's 40 million, come from just 5 countries: Syria, Afghanistan, South Sudan, Myanmar and Somalia. An example of a recent refugee problem is in Afghanistan. The Taliban have recently retaken power and many people have become refugees as they try to leave the country to escape the Taliban. Another example of a refugee crisis closer to Japan is in Myanmar. A refugee crisis started in 2017 when the Rohingya Muslims tried to escape the country due to bad treatment from the Buddhist government. So what happens to refugees when they need to escape? Well, quite often refugees go to neighbouring countries to escape the problems. For example, since 2017, around 750,000 of the Rohingya refugees have crossed the border into Bangladesh and are now living in Bangladesh in refugee camps. Many of them, more than half, are young children. The conditions in refugee camps are really bad. There are too many people, so the camps are really crowded. There is no access to education, and there is very little access to food, clean water, and sanitation. As a result, it's very easy for people to get sick and die in these refugee camps. So what can we do to help? Well, there are some things that we can do. We can donate money. We can donate goods, such as clothes. Or we can raise money through fundraising activities. We can also raise awareness of the problem by telling our friends about it, and also by becoming educated about the refugee problem. For example, by listening to podcasts like this. Many people think our governments should be doing more to help these refugees, and there is some discussion about this issue. Some people think that we should accept more refugees into our countries. For example, amongst developed countries, in 2018, Canada accepted 28,000 refugees, the USA accepted 23,000, and the UK accepted around 20,000 refugees. There are also some countries that don't accept many refugees, preferring to give money to charity to support them. Japan is one such country, accepting very few refugees every year, usually less than 50. With the continuing problems of war and conflict around the world, it's certain that the problems and the questions about how to help refugees in the best way are not going to go away at any time soon. This is a very important thing to think about. And that's it for this week's podcast on refugees. I hope you found it interesting. Please tune in next week for another topic. See you then. Thank you for listening to the Collabo podcast. Please tune in next time.